Hello, welcome to this week's How's the Market, Pensacola. Well, I got yelled at this weekend saying that it's always my job to say it's always a good time to buy and sell. Like I've never told a client, no, don't sell. Like I've never told a client, you don't need to buy. Okay, first of all, this particular person that was yelling at me, come to find out as I started to ask some more questions, they had someone in 2008 tell them it was a great time to buy. They overpaid, and then the prices plummeted, right? And they lost about half their value or 40% of their value, and then they lost it to a foreclosure because they lost a job, everything else. So that was a bad instance. Well, that one instance, I get it. I lost my home in that same crash. So I get it. But that trauma, if you will, in your background, psyche, is not influencing whether I'm telling you it's a good time to buy or sell right now. Now, we are at a weird moment where it's actually a good time for both. But to help satisfy the critic there that came out, why don't I get somebody else that a lot of people know to back me up on this? Watch this.
Here's the thing I want to tell you guys right now. This is an unusual market because we're kind of at this midpoint. There's like a tipping point thing going on. It's like it's getting ready to go and flip. It's not going to flip quick, but we're at this moment in time, and I would say for the next 6 months, this is going to be true. That, and you can't usually say this, is what I'm saying.
Can't wait.
Right now is the best time to buy a house in the next 5 years. Right now. And here's why. Okay? Prices are not going to go down. Some of you are saying, well, I'm going to wait for prices to come down. You're not going to get them.
Yeah.
They're not coming down.
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to go up slower, but they're not going to go down. They may not go up hardly at all, but they're not going to go down. And so 5 years from today, houses are going to be more expensive. This is as cheap as it's going to be in the next 5 years. So this is the best price right now if you're going to buy a house. Well, interest rates are up. Buy the house. If interest rates come back down, refinance.
Yeah.
But don't not buy waiting on interest rates to come down. Just refinance the mortgage if interest rates come down. This is the best time to buy a house in the next 5 years. And here's what's weird. This is also the best time to sell a house in the next 5 years. Why? Because we still have semblance of the crazy white hot market around. And it's really just vibrating. It's still really, like if you're a seller, you really have a real hot commodity right now. You got a nice house, you put it on the market, it'll go. And it'll go for a really good price right now. And it may not be that way 6 months from now.
So I love Dave Ramsey. I love a lot of what he teaches. I do disagree with him on the debt load for real estate. He is a big no debt guy altogether. I fall more up in the Robert Kiyosaki camp where you can use good debt, meaning you can use a mortgage on investment property that actually creates you cash flow. I'm all about leveraging. Some of the bigger projects that I'm involved in, we couldn't do it without leveraging. You start buying a 220 unit apartment complex. Could we if we raised enough capital? Sure, but why not have a debt partner involved? So it was funny because Kiyosaki one time asked Ramsey, how come you're all against, or you're against debt completely when it comes to real estate? And Ramsey's answer was, most people can't handle debt. You can't handle the truth. Yeah, okay, I suck at that. Most people can't handle debt. And so his clientele, the people that listen to him, the people that talk with him, a lot of times they don't do debt. They don't handle debt all that well. Cool, I get it. I understand. That's his marketplace, right? But most of a lot of stuff that he preaches, I actually agree with. So the fact he just sat down and said the same thing. Now, is he in real estate? Nope. I think he does have a real estate license, but he's not trying to sell anything. All right. It's kind of like some people I know. I got a friend of mine in Orlando that has a brokerage. It's just him. He is actually off doing other things, but he keeps his real estate brokerage open just in case he finds a deal or something comes up, he can actually still jump on it. Does Dave keep his license? Sure. Ramsey keeps his license just in case a deal pops up. He can jump on it. Great. But that doesn't disagree from the point that he was making. We're at a weird point right now where you're really going to maximize some dollars for a seller, but we're not going down. See how he said that so many times? We're not going down. So the buyer needs to go ahead and lock in. We can restructure debt. If rates go down, you can always refinance. But values, and see, he's from Tennessee. I'm talking here along the Gulf Coast. There's nothing pointing to them going down. Watch my last few weeks' episodes. I've been saying that over and over and over again. If I feel like there's a parrot, I felt like earlier this year I was a parrot saying it's a hyper seller's market in every price point. It's a hyper seller's market in every price point. I've been saying that for almost 2 years now, right? But now I'm really starting to feel like a parrot by saying now is still a good time to buy because rates you can always restructure. We can restructure debt, but this value is not coming down. There's nothing pointing to that because of supply and demand. The sellers are still outweighed by the buyers drastically on most price points. We got one that's actually creeping up to a neutral market where maybe that happens there inverse. Nothing that's going to be huge here. There's nothing pointing to a downfall in prices. Just like I said, what was it, 2 weeks ago? A deceleration of acceleration. Or excuse me, the deceleration of appreciation is different than depreciation. A deceleration of appreciation is different than depreciation. Go back and watch that show. I'll see if I can put a link up real quick in the notes. All right, talking about inventory levels, let's get over to our 2 counties because I know that's why we watch the show. Let's go. All right, if you've never seen the show, you don't know that I always start with this slide right here. It says if you have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, you have what's called a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months considered a seller's market. What the slide doesn't say. Anything greater than 9 months considered a hyper buyer's market. Anything less than 3 considered a hyper seller's market. We're starting in Escambia County. Looks like we got 703 active, so we have seen an increase in inventory there. If you look at our first-time home buyers, and I'm going to say that's everything under 250, okay? Inventory starting to rise a little between this 100 to 150,000 mark. So that was under a month's inventory last week. Now that's at 1.3. So let's say that was 0.6 last month, and now it's 1.3. Well, the 100 to 150,000 mark, here's the headline I could use as an ad. The 100 to 150,000 mark in Escambia County has doubled in inventory. Crash imminent. What? That's kind of showing you how some of these things, these headlines and some of this stuff out here in the information age, or I should say the misinformation age, is way out there. So we are up to 1.3, but for the most part, they're under a month's inventory. You know, all the way up to 300,000 under a month. Your really low end has got a little higher, mainly because there's a lot of work to be done on these properties. So these properties, like the 50 to 100,000 mark that I saw, there's some that's come on that you know, there was one I saw came on at, I want to say it's 72,000, and I forget the street, but the entire house was burnt out. I mean, the roof was gone. You needed to demolish the entire thing. So they were looking just mainly to get to the land. But the house, the structure's going to have to get bulldozed down to the slab. So that's why I think you're starting to see some inventory pick up there. It's not livable. We go hyper sellers all the way down to $550,000. The $550,000 to $600,000 on the other hand is almost 5 months inventory, 4.8. So we've come out of the hyper sellers and into a sellers, and we're high enough into a sellers where I would change marketing up some here. Then we got this little pocket, 600,000 to 650,000, that's dropped back down to 1.3 months, but it's only because we got 8 properties here. So yeah, I wouldn't change that much. Then we've got 21 properties here, so we're back to 4.7 and 4.1. So I would say everything up to $550,000 hyper sellers. Everything above that still a seller's market, but not a hyper seller's market. So does that change your marketing? Yep. I think I told you guys the other day I got one coming on in the 650 to 700,000. I got another one coming on at 730. We're changing up the marketing. We're having to go into differentiation now. Why? Well, it's still a seller's market, so I'm not giving the property away. But they've got some choices now. Are we going to see this float all the way down? Eventually. Eventually. It's been a long time under 250 or even under 300,000 where I have seen a hyper buyer's market or even a buyer's market at that point. I've seen some of these numbers prop up to neutral, but it's been a long time since I've seen a buyer's market there. So we're going to start to see appreciation just at a decelerated rate. And hopefully that makes sense some. All right, let's jump over to Santa Rosa County. 496 active, which is a little less than last week. Last week we clicked up over 500. There's nothing under 200,000. All right, excuse me. There's nothing under 100,000. And all the way up to almost 300,000 is under a month's inventory. We go up to the same 550,000 to 600,000 here. We're at 3.1 months. So we're slightly over a hyper sellers. I wouldn't change marketing if I came in here. Whereas 600 to 650, we're almost a neutral market. 5.5 months. We get a half month's more inventory. We're at a neutral market. Imagine that. We'll actually see a yellow on this screen again. That'd be a nice change. We will. We'll start to see some yellows. We'll start to see some greens. But I don't think that we're going to see a deceleration of appreciation. It's just not, or excuse me, a depreciation. We will see a deceleration of appreciation, but we're not going to see depreciation. There's nothing pointing to it. Nothing. So trying to keep it a little short. I know that Ramsey clip ran a little long, but I wanted to make sure that you guys understood I'm not just doing this for the fact that I am a realtor. Okay, I do this I've been documenting this market for the last 3 years now, just so people can look back and go, okay, that's one of the reasons I do this show every week, or at least, sometimes I only do it twice a month. But yeah, most of the time I just try and document. And as we can start to see in the higher ends, inventory is starting to rise a little. So keep that in mind. Hopefully these numbers help you make your decision for you and yours. Always in the show talking about our instant offer program. Had someone take advantage of it this past week. Instant offer program. Basically, if you got a property that needs a bunch of work, or you don't have time, effort to do either the work, or something's wrong. I've got some people that have taken advantage of us that haven't stepped foot in the state of Florida in 15, 20 years, and they just inherited a property and they don't know what to do. So they call us for an instant offer program. We basically go out. I represent a group of investors here in town. I can give you an offer that we can close in 10, 15, 30 days, whatever you need, right? I had somebody say, I want to close, I want to use this, but we need 45 days to move out. Cool, that worked. So I give you an offer like an investor would. Some people will take it and use my offer as the floor and come on the MLS. See if they can get higher. If they get higher, great. If they can't, they already know it's a floor. So it's kind of a safety net for people. Anyways, there's information about that program underneath. So check that out as well. All right. Inventory, about the same as last week. I'll be curious as we get into 4th of July next week, how we may see, if it's cyclical, right after 4th of July, the Labor Day starts to retract a little, and then after Labor Day through the holidays, definitely retracts. So I'll be interested to see if we actually go back down to a hyper sellers in all price points after 4th of July, or at least after Labor Day. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?